This morning, the Packers are entering the third week of the 2019 NFL season undefeated. We'll hear from wide receiver Davante Adams on yesterday's win over the Vikings.
And the city of Madison is undertaking two major projects to help curb flooding. We'll tell you about them ahead.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this Monday, September 16th. And if you haven't looked outside yet, you're going to want to, and you're also going to want to leave early because it is foggy. I mean, it was crazy driving in this morning.
Spooky. Yes,
Very
we
spooky.
haven't seen fog that's this widespread for a long time across southern Wisconsin. All that rain last week just provides lots of moisture for a thick blanket of fog this morning. We can't really see much this morning. Kind of looks like we're in an airplane flying above the clouds. Nope, that's our sky camera shot here on the west side of town. Skies are clear though, so once the fog lifts, we have sunshine in the forecast. I issued an alert day in the forecast just for this morning though, because the fog is going to impact your commute. As Josh mentioned, plan on leaving a little early. Visibility is low. Dense fog advisory is in effect for the entire area until 10 o'clock this morning. Here's a look at what we're dealing with. Visibility has improved just a little bit here in Madison, up to a quarter of a mile. Still zero visibility in Juneau and Monroe, and in many places around the region. So plan some extra time. Be careful early today. Temperatures, though, with that sunshine this afternoon, will climb into the low 80s later on. So another warm and humid day. Let's check those first alert traffic maps. So far this morning, travel has been pretty good. Just seen some brake lights showing up on Stoughton Road at the Beltline, but otherwise no other major issues to talk about. Travel still going at posted speeds in and out of Madison. But you might want to slow it down just a little bit to deal with the fog this morning.
You could even tell going to bed last night with how much moisture was in the air that it was going to be a foggy morning.
Yes, so humid. Wish we could get rid of the humidity, but we have to be patient for that.
I'm sure some people are loving it, though. Summer's still
here.
Giving us some taste.
Right.
Thanks, Addie.
You're welcome.
First this morning, two residential areas that have been tormented by flooding are getting some help from the city of Madison.
Construction crews are starting today on projects that should cut down on the flooding over the long term. Keely Arthur joins us live on Madison's west side to explain what they're doing. Keely, good morning to you.
Good morning, Josh and Leah. Yeah, we're just outside of McKenna Boulevard, and once the sun rises, you'll be able to see that there is a huge project going on right here. It's all to help prevent flooding. Anyone that was in this area just about a year ago last year knows that this area was totally submerged. The city doesn't want that to happen again, and here to talk with me more about the projects going on is Hannah Molininski. She is with the city's engineering division. Hannah, there's this project, one happening at Hawks Landing. What is going on over here?
Sure. So this project, we know that this area residents have experienced some more severe flooding more frequently in the last 3 to 4 years. So the purpose of this project is to increase the conveyance and improve the conveyance through the greenway that runs adjacent to the Green Tree landfill that runs north and south, north-south to the landfill. What does that mean? We want to make sure that the stormwater can pass through here without any resistance, whether that means smaller pipes. We want to improve that and make those larger so water can flow through, and then also make sure that the channel is widened. That will also increase the water flow through down to Elver Park Ponds downstream. We also know that this project will improve and lower significantly the water level in the channel on the private property that's on this line here, and then also the McKenna Boulevard. That road is such a main artery to emergency services, and that has been flooded over multiple times more frequently in the last 3 to 4 years. So we want to make sure that that is not causing or cutting any services off to the community as a whole here on the west side.
Yeah, lots to consider. Thank you so much, Hannah. And Hannah was mentioning how we are in a residential area, but this project should be wrapped up in about 5 months. And even though this may be a bit of a headache for people living in the area, it will be well worth it later on down the road because there won't be any more flooding. I'll send it back to you too.
All right, Keely Arthur live on Madison's west side this morning. Keely, thank you.
To Green Bay now, the Packers still undefeated after taking down the Minnesota Vikings in yesterday's home opener. The Packers offense got off to a hot start, scoring on its first possession on an Aaron Rodgers touchdown pass to Jamal Williams. The Vikings tried to rally in the second half, including a 45-yard touchdown pass that was almost intercepted in the end zone. Packers, though, able to hold on for a 21-16 win. Last year, the Packers only had 1 division win, so 2 right off the bat is huge, according to Devontae Adams.
It's a real resilient bunch. No game is easy to win in this league, so to win a game against 2 great opponents like that, division opponents, it means a lot.
This is the Packers' 4th win against the Vikings in their last 6 games at Lambeau. At halftime, the team also honored the late Bart Starr, with his wife Cherry appearing arm in arm with old friend Brett Favre.
Senator Tammy Baldwin wants to make it easier for you to watch the Packers on TV. She's reintroducing her Go Pack Go Act, a bill that would require cable and satellite companies to offer a choice to watch Wisconsin-based programming to viewers in 12 counties covered by Minnesota-based TV markets. Baldwin says despite the sports connection, the bill goes well beyond football.
If you're in one of those border communities, you're in the Minneapolis-St. Paul media market, you're not getting very much news, if any, about the state of Wisconsin, about what's happening in state government or local activities.
Right now, around 400,000 Wisconsinites are assigned to an out-of-state TV market.
To campaign 2020 now, Democratic presidential candidate Julian Castro is back on the campaign trail after a stop here in Madison this weekend at the Cap Times Idea Fest. The 2-day event featured more than 90 speakers on the UW-Madison campus, exploring the theme of how to reach a better state. Castro's brother, Congressman Joaquin Castro, also weighed in on some issues. The brothers spoke about immigration, homelessness, and gun control.
A lot of the gun violence that happens, is not only in the mass shooting context. That's not most of it. Most of it happens in our neighborhoods. Joaquin and I grew up in these neighborhoods where it was not uncommon to hear gunshots in the neighborhood.
Castro's plans for gun control include universal background checks, an assault weapons ban, a 7-day waiting period, and more. Recent polls have Castro in 10th place among Democrats, while Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren still lead the way.
6:07 right now. A new move by Governor Evers' administration could cost farmers as much as $5 million every year. That's according to the Department of Natural Resources. The governor is working to make restrictions on manure and fertilizer in areas prone to nitrate contamination. This comes as the industry already struggles with low milk prices and President Trump's trade wars. Last year, the DNR imposed manure restrictions in some northeastern Wisconsin counties in response to drinking water contamination in Kewaunee County. The department says the rule would impose similar restrictions across the state in, quote, sensitive areas.
A man is in jail this morning for trying to steal a woman's purse here in Madison in broad daylight. Police say a 31-year-old man tried to grab a bag from the hands of a 56-year-old woman just after 5:30 yesterday afternoon near the Pizza Hut on South Park Street. Police say the woman was able to fight him off and hang on to her purse. That man is in the Dane County Jail this morning.
Beloit police need your help identifying a person of interest in a theft investigation. It happened right across from the Speedway off of the Wisconsin Trunk Highway System in Beloit. Around 3 Saturday afternoon, surveillance cameras were able to grab this photo of the man. If you have any information, you're asked to contact the City of Beloit Police Department.
Right now, Lafayette County deputies are looking for the driver of a car that crashed into an Amish buggy Sunday morning, killing a horse in the town of Darlington. It happened after 3 a.m. along Highway 81. Deputies say a 20-year-old was in an open buggy being pulled by a single horse when the car crashed into them. Officers say the man, the horse, and the buggy were all thrown into the ditch, and the driver of that car took off. The man had non-life-threatening injuries and was able to find nearby residents to call police. 3
out of 5 parents say their teen has been in a car with a distracted driver. A University of Michigan poll finds that loud music, cell phones, and other teens in the car are the top distractions. Almost half of parents say they try to limit their teen driving after dark, as well as riding with more than 2 peers.
As more people look to cut back on their alcohol consumption, the Sober Curious movement is gaining interest in Milwaukee. Some venues are seeing more of a demand for zero-proof cocktails and spirits. For bars and restaurants, it's about making sure everyone has a drink that looks and tastes good, whether they're sober or not.
Someone that doesn't drink or doesn't imbibe in alcohol should be able to have a cocktail that's just as curated than some of our other drinks.
A 2017 survey found that 1/3 of people want to cut back on their alcohol consumption.
A 6-week project to resurface County Highway M between Verona and Oregon starts today, with driving restricted to local traffic until late next month. Today, that stretch between Fish Hatchery Road to County Highway MM in Oregon are closed to local traffic. Through traffic needs to take alternate routes like Verona Road or the Beltline. Area businesses will still be open, so if you have to reach one of those, just give yourself some extra travel time and drive carefully.
Test scores in the Janesville School District are down for the third year in a row. Numbers released by the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction showed Janesville's overall ACT scores went from 19.3 in the 2016 school year to 18.9 in 2017 and to 18.4 in 2018. The top score for the ACT, by the way, is 36. District officials say they are making some changes. Those include ramping up math in middle school and teaching some of those topics closer to the date of the ACT.
The Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has a PSA for you this morning. They ask that you don't kiss or snuggle chickens or eat with them or bring them in your home. Yes, this may sound odd, but the CDC has been investigating several multi-state outbreaks of salmonella linked to contact with backyard poultry. And the phenomenon is more common than you might think. A 2016 study from the CDC found nearly 13% of salmonella cases involved kissing the birds. Meanwhile, 49% said they'd snuggled baby chicks, and 46% said they kept chickens in the house.
What?
10% of those kept the chickens in the bedroom.
Fascinating story.
Oh my.
All right, more local news now. Mile Bluff Medical Center in Boston is showing their support for their patients by hanging bras in the lobby. These bras are creatively decorated. Then anyone can vote for whichever ones they like best. It's all to help raise money for a 3D mammography machine. One vote equals $1 toward that new machine. Director of Medical Imaging says they're in a rural area, so it's important to have technology for women to be regularly examined.
The difference is the X-ray arm does a sweep over the breast tissue, which provides additional images than the 2D mammography. So the radiologist is able to get slices to look at layers of the breast and to get a better look at the breast in whole. So that's why we recommend 3D.
The bras are also raising awareness for regular exams, since early detection can save lives. The final vote will be decided on October 3rd at Women's Night Out in Boston. For more information on voting and donating, you can head over to channel3000.com.
All right, time right now is 6:12, and we are tracking breaking news this morning as 49,000 auto workers will not be clocking into work today. We'll have the latest details on why they're going on strike against General Motors and when they could be going back to work. That's coming up.
But first, you're going to want to make sure you're giving yourself some time to get to work or school this morning. You're taking a look at what the roads look like right now with that thick fog still this morning. Hattie has the details in her Alert Day forecast when News 3 Now This Morning returns.
This
Good morning from the Hattie-O patio. We definitely have some fog here at the station on the west side of town and many locations in that same boat. It is a foggy start to this Monday morning. Not able to see a whole lot from the Edgewater Sky camera. It's pointed at the Capitol, but we just aren't able to see anything this morning. It is an alert day due to the widespread dense fog that developed overnight. It's in fact just through the morning hours because it will impact the commute early today. A dense fog advisory remains in place until 10 o'clock for all of southern Wisconsin, and Madison, Janesville, Milwaukee included. Visibility still at a quarter of a mile here in Madison, but it's down to 0 in Monroe and Juneau. The lone spot, Platteville, reporting 10-mile visibility right now. So maybe a little bit of a hole in the cloud cover there, but elsewhere, there is a lot of fog. Here's a live look from the WISC-TV Skycam. Looking to the east, you'll see that skies are actually clear on top of this layer of dense fog. So once the fog dissipates, we'll look for a lot of sunshine. Just as we get later in the year, though, it takes a little longer for the sun to get high enough to dissipate that fog. Temperatures are in the low 60s here in Madison and Platteville, still 66 in Janesville, but 62 in Watertown and even 62 in Camp Douglas. Dew points are pretty high, still in the 60s this morning, and they're expected to remain elevated through the day. So that humidity that we dealt with yesterday, it's still around today. No relief from that. Here's a look at your future track forecast model. Doing a great job showing you the widespread fog this morning. It stays put through the 9 o'clock hour, but then by lunchtime, we're looking at sunshine with temperatures back in the 70s. Should be a beautiful afternoon, although a little warm and humid for this time of the year. Highs will be in the low 80s. Pretty comfortable this evening with temperatures dropping back through the 70s. Be aware that some fog could develop, though, by tomorrow morning once again. Here's a look at that extended forecast. We stay in the 80s through Wednesday with dry weather. I guess dry is relative because it's still going to be humid. Our next chance for rain, though, holds off until Wednesday night into Thursday, where we could see some showers and thunderstorms. Now let's get a look at that first alert traffic report. Jason Stone has all the details. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning. A dense fog advisory in effect. Please use your headlights and leave plenty of distance in front of you. No issues on the Beltline. All lanes are moving at the posted speed limit. Vehicles are lining up on Verona Road at Highway PD. Delays will increase throughout the morning. All other routes into Madison and around Dane County are clear. And volume is minor on campus, the Capitol Square, and elsewhere on the Isthmus. With your first alert traffic, I'm Jason Stone.
Thank you very much, Jason, and thank you, Hattie. Breaking into the Channel 3000 Alert Center overnight, more than 49,000 members of the United Auto Workers are on strike against General Motors this morning.
The workers shut down 39 manufacturing plants and 22 parts distribution warehouses at midnight after talks with the company deteriorated. The union's contract with GM expired Saturday. This is the first national strike by the union since a two-day walkout in 2007. Talks are scheduled to resume at 9 o'clock this morning in an effort to come to a compromise on a new 4-year contract. The strike will impact factories in states like Indiana, Michigan, and Ohio.
Another state is working to ban the sale of flavored e-cigarettes as vaping-related illnesses and deaths continue to rise among young people. New York's governor has directed health officials to ban the sale of the vapes, and that could go into effect as soon as 2 weeks. President Trump has proposed a similar federal ban just last week.
Target is introducing new food options with its brand Good and Gather. Nearly 2,000 Target locations are stocked with the new dairy and deli products. Target says Good and Gather items are made without artificial flavors or sweeteners, synthetic colors, and high fructose corn syrup.
The Federal Emergency Management Agency is notifying 2.5 million people whose personal information was shared with a third party. FEMA shared the data with a contractor that supports its Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program. Anyone who applied for temporary housing assistance between 2008 and 2018 may have been impacted. That data includes banking information for more than half of the cases. The agency is providing 18 months of free credit monitoring for anyone who is affected. All right, 6:20 on your Monday. It can take years on the donation list to find a new kidney. But coming up, we are taking a look at how one family is taking their own initiative to find a match by taking their plea for help on the road.
But first, a live look outside this morning as Hattie is monitoring some very thick fog on her alert day. Look at that. You can barely see much. It's like we're above the clouds this morning. She'll have her bus stop forecast coming up on News 3 Now this morning. Stick around.
Oof, taking a live look right now at the roads out there today. It is going to be one to turn on your lights, huh?
Yeah, don't forget to turn on those low beam headlights. Fog advisory in effect this morning. I did issue an alert day because the fog is going to impact the morning commute, especially in rural areas where the visibility is just very low. So be careful this morning as you head out the door. Watch out for the kids at the bus stops, whatever you need to do. Take a look. Today is an alert day. Visibility is a quarter of a mile or less in many spots this morning. It hasn't changed a whole lot through the morning hours, so we're still socked in with dense fog. The dense fog advisory goes until 10 o'clock this morning. Here's a look at current visibility. Quarter of a mile here in Madison, zero visibility in Monroe and Juneau. Some improvement now in Watertown to half a mile visibility through the Wisconsin River Valley and even up towards La Crosse, dealing with some widespread fog. So pretty tough to avoid the fog this morning. At the bus stop, be especially careful for the kids with that fog early today. Once the fog dissipates, sunshine through the afternoon though. Pretty warm and humid conditions once again. It's going to be hot in the classroom. Highs right around 80 later on today.
All right, Hattie, thank you very much. Our Coats for Kids drive is entering its second week and taking another big leap. Another 211 coats have been collected since last count, bringing our total to 530 so far. A reminder, if you haven't donated already, we're looking for coats and winter accessories of all sizes, especially stuff for our kids before it gets cold outside. Check your closets for outgrown or seldom used winter coats, hats, mittens, scarves, snow pants, basically anything lightly used winter gear, so your kids that don't use them anymore. You can drop them off at any Clinky Cleaners through Saturday, October 5th. We're going to keep you updated on that tally count every morning right here on News 3 Now this morning.
6:25 now. There is new research out this morning about obesity rates here in Wisconsin.
Yeah, we're learning WPR is reporting on an uptick in obesity rates for 33 states, but not ours. Wisconsin stayed about the same with 32% of residents considered obese. Still, though, that's above the national average of 31%. Obesity is also being linked to a six-fold risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Research out of Denmark found genetic risk and lifestyle, including alcohol intake, exercise, and diet, also play a role in part in developing that illness. By 2045, more than 600 million adults are expected to be living with diabetes.
A new Rutgers study shows doctors in the U.S. are increasingly prescribing off-label medications for your kids. Off-label means using medications in a way not specifically approved by the FDA. The most frequently ordered off-label drugs were to treat respiratory infections, asthma, and mental health disorders. All right, when waiting for a kidney transplant can take years, one Baraboo family is taking a creative approach to finding a match.
Donna Sherbert Larson was diagnosed with stage 4 kidney failure in early 2016. She's in UW's kidney exchange program with her granddaughter, Casey Helt, but because of her blood type, Helt isn't an ideal match. To speed things along, Donna's family outfitted their cars with decal stickers, searching for a match.
See some in the store and they tell me, we're behind you, Donna, just keep on going. So I've been trying to do it, but it gets difficult sometimes.
Donna's family encourages anyone to look into becoming a kidney donor, whether it goes to Donna or not. For more information on helping the family or becoming a donor yourself, just visit channel3000.com.
Love the decal idea, and I'm hoping that with us highlighting it here on the news, somebody can step in and help her.
Mobile billboard. I always I don't want to say distracted, but you always notice those stickers on the back window, so I think that's a great idea by them.
They're attention grabbing.
And I know this state, somebody will step up.
We're thinking of Donna this morning. All right, still ahead, we have the top 3 things you need to know on your Monday morning as you head out the door. That includes the latest on the first auto worker strike in years.
And we're also going to tell you what new projects are now underway as the city of Madison works to make sure neighborhoods on the west side don't find themselves underwater again. This is News 3 Now this morning.
From the Channel3000.com Alert Center, this is News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning, folks, and thanks for staying with us on this Monday, September 16th. Hattie is hard at work this morning, keeping an eye on a dense fog advisory that's covering really most of our viewing area.
Yeah, we'll get to her update here in just a moment, but first let's get to the top 3 things you need to know this morning. 49,000 employees at General Motors are on strike this morning. The United Auto Workers say they're fighting for fair wages, affordable quality health care, and job security. GM says it offered to invest more than $7 billion in factories in 4 states and create 5,400 new positions. Union leaders and GM are expected to resume negotiations later this morning.
The second story we're following this morning, oil prices are at their highest levels since May after a weekend attack on the world's largest refinery in Saudi Arabia. President Trump says the U.S. believes it knows who's behind the attack and is, quote, locked and loaded pending verification from the Saudi kingdom. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has blamed Iran.
And rounding out the top 3 this morning, OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma is filing for bankruptcy. This comes days after the tentative settlement worth $3 billion was reached with many of the state and local governments who are suing it over the toll of opioids. Attorney General Josh Kaul isn't signing Wisconsin onto the settlement because he says it doesn't bring justice to the victims of the opioid crisis.
Those are the top 3 things to know on your Monday. Hattie's here with a look at that dense fog advisory. Hi, Hattie.
Good morning, Leah and Josh. You're right. Fog is an issue this morning, and today's an alert day just for the morning hours due to that dense fog. It is widespread across southern Wisconsin. Visibility is a quarter of a mile or less in many spots. We're all under a dense fog advisory this morning. That goes until 10 o'clock. Once the fog dissipates, though, the forecast looks pretty nice. Here's a look at your visibility conditions this morning. Many spots a quarter of a mile, but a couple of areas, Juneau and Monroe, have visibility near 0, as well as Viroqua and Black River Falls. So as you head out the door this morning, there will be some fog early. Once that clears, we're looking at sunshine with highs right around 80 degrees this afternoon. Still a warm and humid day. Here's a look at your traffic maps this morning. We'll see what's happening on area roads. Getting a little busier on the Beltline at Stoughton Road, also on Highway 12 in Middleton. Otherwise, no other major delays to report. On Verona Road, as you head northbound to the Beltline, you're adding a few extra minutes. And that's your first alert traffic.
Thank you very much, Hattie. 6:34 your time now. A number of projects to curb flooding in our area start today.
Both projects are happening in residential areas of Madison hit hardest by flooding in the past. Keely Arthur joins us live on Madison's west side to talk more about the long-term plan to fix that. Hi, Keely.
Hi, Josh and Leah. Yeah, now that the sun is up, you can really kind of get a better sense of what is happening here. We're just off of McKenna Boulevard. That's near Oliver Park, and all of this is so there's no more flooding in this area. Now, this is an area that's been plagued by flooding in the past. We really saw it bad last August 2018. And here with me is Hannah Molinsky. She is with the city's engineering division to talk about exactly what we're looking at. Hi, Hannah.
Good morning. Good morning. So we are busy. As you can see, construction is well underway here in McKenna. We are working on improving this greenway so that it can convey water, storm water. We know that in the past it has not done that as well. So we want to make sure that people and folks in this area specifically aren't experiencing flooding. So we're going to be widening the channel. That will substantially improve the water level, lower the water level along the private property, and then also in the channel and then on McKenna Boulevard, which is really important for emergency services.
It was really bad last year. I mean, will this eliminate flooding from happening?
I think that it will definitely reduce significantly. We know that flash flooding can happen at any point. And so what we can do is make sure there's a system in place to make sure it can handle those heavy rain events more frequently.
Yeah, prepare as best we can. And then this is happening also something very similar over at Hawks Landing. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, so today we're beginning construction with Hawks Landing. We know that in that area, especially the west part of Hawks Landing, the neighborhood has a very undersized pipe and stormwater drainage system. So we're going to be taking a look and substantially upsizing that stormwater system so it can handle all that rain. And then all of the water on the west side will flow through that. And we have a pond system over there that we're working with to make sure that folks are comfortable and that that system can handle the flooding. Because we know folks here in McKenna, folks over at Hawks Landing, more frequently in the last 3 to 4 years. So all we can do is make sure that people are prepared and there's a system in place.
All right. Thank you so much, Hannah. And Hannah was saying earlier that there's about just 300 residential homes in the Hawks Landing area. So to give you a sense of how many people this is going to impact, it's going to do a lot of good, hopefully prevent a lot of flooding in the future. Back to you two.
All right, Keely Arthur live on Madison's West Side this morning. Keely, thanks.
6:36 now. You can see that fog out there by our Keely Arthur on the west side. It's going to stick around for your morning commute as well. Hattie is keeping tabs on that alert day forecast. She'll update us after the break.
And coming up later in the morning sprint, new allegations have caused presidential candidates to call for the impeachment of Supreme Court Justice Brett Kavanaugh. Keep watching News 3 Now this morning.
All right, we always ask you to share your morning with us this time of the morning, and Kenton Fowler, a repeat offender of just phenomenal photos, sent in this gorgeous one.
I usually don't like spider webs, but that is kind of cool.
I'll take that one. Look at the dewdrops on it and the sunrise in the background.
Very, very beautiful. Thank you for sharing, Kenton. If you've got a photo, all you have to do is share it with us on our Facebook page.
Okay, I am happy to be sitting down on this Monday morning with my dancing shoes back in the closet where they belong after Roomba for Rainbow this weekend. Oh yes, King, you're taking a look at the winner of the 15th annual Roomba for Rainbow Celebrity Dance Challenge at Union South. It brought out the dancer and some of our co-workers. That's Dana Fulton killing it right there. She did a phenomenal job. This is me.
Yes,
oh, there I go.
Girl.
Hey!
Oh my gosh.
He didn't drop me. I was really excited. Ooh, not the most graceful dismount there. But in any case, I did take home second behind that very talented Madison firefighter. Our own Amanda Quintana and Jamie Perez also emceed the event.
Girl, you know how to dance.
I did dance for 15 years. Betty Hayes, big shout out to you. Love all those skills.
I did not know that.
I did, yeah. Ballet, tap, and jazz.
Well, learning something new about you this morning.
Well, it had been 10 years since I broke out those shoes, so it was a little rough, but
yeah,
it was fun.
All for a good cause, too.
An incredible cause, the Rainbow Project, a really incredible nonprofit here in Madison. So check it out if you have the time.
Well, congrats to you. You
Thank
did great.
you.
You looked good. All right, still ahead for us. Hattie's updating us on that alert day fog and how it might be impacting traffic this morning. Look at that. You can't even see anything. Her full forecast is straight ahead.
But first, it is Monday, September 16th. We want to say happy birthday to Keaton and all the kids turning 3 today. Thanks so much for celebrating with us right here on News 3 Now this morning.
Good morning from the News 3 Now First Alert Weather Center. We've been talking about dense fog all morning. Behind me is the Edgewater camera shot. We can't even see the Capitol this morning. The fog is so thick here in Madison. I've issued an alert day for just the morning hours with the widespread dense fog that will impact the morning commute. So keep that in mind. We're all under a dense fog advisory until 10 o'clock this morning. It includes all of southern Wisconsin as well as the surrounding areas in Iowa and Illinois. Visibility is still at a quarter of a mile here in Madison. So still very low. Zero visibility in Juneau and Monroe. Viroqua and Black River Falls now also at zero visibility. So the fog is widespread and you're likely going to have to deal with it for at least another hour or so. Here's a look at the high temperature trend. Once that fog burns off, we have a pretty warm day coming up. Normal highs are in the low 70s. We'll top in the low 80s, almost 10 degrees above normal. And in fact, over the next 10 days, we stay above normal, even as we head into the middle of next week. Here's a look at why we're so quiet and warm. High pressure in control here. No rain in our forecast, which is great news. We get a chance to dry out. Warm air has been building through the central part of the country, but we have Hurricane Umberto, which is in the Atlantic. That is not posing a threat to land, but it's really blocking up the weather systems across the country, not preventing any movement to the east. So we get to enjoy high pressure and quiet weather for another couple of days. Take a look at the travel delays. There is some fog in the area, so there may be some delays showing up. Chicago, Madison, Milwaukee, nothing being reported right now, but you might want to call ahead if you have a flight this morning. And if you are leaving the area, it's going to be warm almost any direction that you fly today. Very warm to the midsection of the country. 93 today for a high in Billings, 87 in Denver, 97 in Dallas. Those 90s continue in the southeastern corner of the United States. So lots of heat and humidity across the country. Here in southern Wisconsin, we are not immune to that either. Temperatures are in the 60s this morning. Dew points are going to stay high. They'll climb back into the mid 60s. So that humidity that we had in the area yesterday is still present today. Take a look at your future track forecast model. Again, starting this morning, doing a pretty good job depicting the fog across the area through 8 or 9 o'clock. It does dissipate though, and by lunchtime, we're looking at partly to mostly sunny skies. Temperatures climbing through the 70s into the low 80s in many locations. Winds are expected to be very light. Temperatures will cool down this evening. We're headed back into the 60s overnight with that potential for some fog to redevelop overnight. Here's a look at your extended forecast. We have highs in the 80s Tuesday and Wednesday. We stay in the upper 70s then Thursday and Friday. Our next chance for rain holds off until Wednesday night into Thursday. Here's our...
Oh,
honey. What are you supposed to say about that? That's cuteness.
I want to be that.
Finn and Madison all snuggled up.
One of those mornings too.
Yeah, wish I could be there right now. It will be sunny later on today with highs right around 80.
Finn will wake up for a little walk later.
Maybe.
Thank you very much, Annie.
You're welcome.
Stay with us for the morning sprint, but first here's Anthony Mason with what's ahead at 7 o'clock. Hi, Anthony.
Good morning. Ahead on CBS this morning, Edward Snowden, the man who revealed classified secret surveillance program documents, will join us in a U.S. television exclusive. He gives new details about the decision and discusses U.S. privacy issues today. Plus, take a dive into a one-of-a-kind research lab on the ocean floor in the Florida Keys. How the loss of seagrass down there affects how we live up here. We'll see you at 7.
6:51, time for the morning sprint as we get you out the door with the most local news to start your Monday.
We begin with Keely Arthur reporting on some new construction in town to help cut down on flooding risks. Keely, good morning.
Good morning. Two of the areas that were hardest hit by the historic flooding are getting some much needed help by the city. This is an area just off of McKenna Boulevard near Elver Park. They are expanding the area to help prevent flooding by increasing the flow. Anyone that was here during the historic flooding knows parts of it were entirely submerged, and it was the same area over near Hawks Landing. City officials say flood mitigation was always somewhat of a priority, but because of what happened last year, it is now a top one. In addition to the McKenna project and Hawks Landing, the city says it considers flooding and storm sewers now in every single one of its projects. These projects will wrap up in 2020.
And we have an alert day this morning for the widespread dense fog across southern Wisconsin. A dense fog advisory is in effect until 10 o'clock. Here's a look at current visibility, less than a mile across all of southern Wisconsin. A few spots dealing with visibility near zero as well. Once the fog lifts by mid-morning, look for sunshine and warm temperatures. 81 for the high with high levels of humidity as well.
Hattie, thank you. 49,000 employees at General Motors are on strike this morning. The United Auto Workers say they're fighting for fair wages, affordable quality health care, and job security. GM says it offered to invest more than $7 billion in factories in 4 states and create 5,400 new positions. Union leaders and GM are expected to resume negotiations later this morning.
OxyContin maker Purdue Pharma is filing for bankruptcy. This comes days after the tentative settlement worth $3 billion was reached with many of the state and local governments who are suing the company over the toll of opioids. Attorney General Josh Kaul is not signing Wisconsin onto the settlement because he says it doesn't bring justice to victims of the opioid crisis.
FEMA is notifying 2.5 million people whose personal information was shared with a third party. FEMA shared the data with a contractor that supports its Transitional Sheltering Assistance Program. Anyone who applied for temporary housing assistance between 2008 and 2018 may have been impacted. There's no evidence that the data was ever hacked or accessed by an unauthorized party.
Oil prices are at their highest levels since May after a weekend attack on one of the world's largest refineries in Saudi Arabia. President Trump says the U.S. believes it knows who's behind that attack and is, quote, locked and loaded pending verification from the Saudi kingdom. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has blamed Iran.
New right now in the morning sprint, presidential candidates Elizabeth Warren, Kamala Harris, and Julian Castro have called for Supreme Court Justice or Associate Justice Brett Kavanaugh to be impeached after a new report about alleged sexual misconduct from his college years. President Trump, meanwhile, stood by Kavanaugh and said the Justice Department should, quote, rescue him. Kavanaugh has not responded to the latest report, but denied all accusations that emerged during his confirmation process.
Democratic presidential candidate Julian Castro is back on the campaign trail after a stop right here in Madison this weekend at the Cap Times Idea Fest. Castro spoke about immigration, homelessness, and gun control. In recent polls, Castro has come in 10th place among Democrats still in the race, while Joe Biden, Bernie Sanders, and Elizabeth Warren lead the way.
A new move by Governor Evers' administration could cost farmers as much as $5 million every year. Evers is working to make restrictions on manure and fertilizer in areas prone to nitrate contamination. Last year, the DNR imposed manure restrictions in some northeastern Wisconsin counties in response to drinking water contamination in Kewaunee County.
The Beloit Police Department needs your help identifying a person of interest in a theft investigation over the weekend. It happened right across the speedway off of the Wisconsin Trunk Highway system in Beloit around 3 Saturday afternoon. Surveillance cameras were able to grab this photo of the man. If you have any information, you're asked to call the City of Beloit Police Department.
Test scores in the Janesville School District are down for the 3rd year in a row. Numbers released by the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction show Janesville's overall ACT scores went from 19.3 in 2016 to 18.9 in 2017 and 18.4 last year. Department officials say they're making the changes to lead to better scores in the future.
The Brewers start their final homestand of the regular season today, just 1 game out of a playoff spot after a dramatic comeback yesterday against the Cardinals. Ryan Braun hit a go-ahead grand slam with 2 outs and 2 strikes in the 9th. That gave the Brewers a 7-4 lead. St. Louis rallied for 2 runs of their own in the bottom of the 9th. But the Brewers hung on for the win. They host San Diego tonight at 6:40 at Miller Park.
The Packers are at the top of the NFC North after hanging on to beat the Minnesota Vikings yesterday at Lambeau Field. The Packers offense got off to a hot start, scoring on its first 3 possessions. Minnesota tried to come back in the second half, but the Packers defense was able to step up for a second straight week. The Packers now host the Denver Broncos next week.
6:57, let's turn it over to Jason Stone this morning with a look at your Monday First Alert traffic. Hey, Jason.
Hey, brake lights popping up on the westbound Beltline at Stoughton to West Broadway and near Rimrock. Otherwise, all lanes are at or near the posted speed limit. Inbound John Nolan is crowded starting at Lakeside to North Shore Drive. A dense fog advisory is in place. Please use your headlights and leave plenty of distance in front of you during your commute this morning. With your First Alert traffic, I'm Jason Stone.
Thank you very much, Jason.
And here's the view from the WISC-TV Skycam, or lack thereof. You can see the sun just a little bit, trying to climb above the fog this morning. The fog will dissipate by 10 o'clock. After that, we have some sunshine. Temperatures will climb to highs in the low 80s.
All right, Hattie, thank you. And thank you for joining us. Stay safe out there. Give yourself some extra time and go make it a great day.